Hello, Leo.
Lovely to meet you.
Lovely to meet you too.
How are you?
I'm great. Yeah. We're here in this very bizarre studio.
This very small room.
This is our
Therapist room.
both your and my living room.
Yeah.
Look exactly like this.
I brought my plant all the way from London.
Plant looks fake.
It is.
Good to know.
Because I would never water that thing.
We're here to talk about our respective...
We're here to just talk about just ourselves, aren't we?
Yeah, really.
Just
and
bang on about ourselves.
We just found out that we support
Yeah, we already kind of hate each other.
rivaling football teams.
Yeah.
Well, so the fact that you support Chelsea tells me a lot about who you are as a person. Yeah.
Okay.
So it tells me.
It's about to get
it tells me that you're plastic. You have nothing behind you. There's no substance behind you at all.
Oh God.
And you're just in it for the glory.
Yeah.
Can the same be said about your approach to acting and your career?
I don't know, I just blanked out every insult that you just threw away.
I mean,
plastic, yes.
Yes, plastic.
Incredibly plastic. I fake everything
Yeah.
when the camera's rolling.
I don't buy that, and not to steer too into the acting straight away.
Here we go.
But I did text you because I watched the show. The show that you
what's
did
it called?
one
What's
day.
it called? Oh, well done.
I had to really memorise that one. One Day, which is, I suppose you could say, like a remake of the movie that one of my co-stars and
your new friend.
did. Yeah, my new friend.
Your
my
new friend.
mate. Feels weird to say.
No, it's fine. Keep.
We're connected here.
Yeah.
I watched the show, and you're just like incredibly human in it. Just a very, very beautiful performance. And you and Ambika, it felt like a sort of a modern day epic in a lot of ways.
Nice. One day epic.
Am I selling you the?
You are.
Your
I believe
show?
you. Man. I believe you.
Very well.
But no, yeah, you have just. Thank you, by the way. That's
Sorry, mate.
very, very kind words. You can say.
So I can keep doing it.
You can, yeah. You can stay.
I think also, there's like so much content nowadays.
Yeah.
And, the Netflix of it all, the Amazons or whatever. And I think to be in something that's like feels very transcendent of like the mass amount of not teen shows but younger shows that we get. It felt so very real. Like, how did you come to the project?
I think a lot of what we did on that show was we already had the foundation of such a good book, and it was obviously like a very, unusual setup for a show is to have like 14, 30-minute episodes.
Yeah.
So what now?
Whatever you want.
Scrabble.
Was there a lot of stuff that didn't make it in the show that you filmed?
There was a story in episode 3, and he basically is just like telling a story about some night that he's just had, and it's so long, and they cut the entire thing.
You probably spent so long.
I did, mate. I was like really trying to get my storytelling chops out. I was actually quite grateful that they cut that whole thing there.
Really? Why is that?
I don't know, I was fumbling my way through it anyway. Do you ever feel that way?
Oh yeah, man, all the time. I mean, it was kind of different on Mary and George because...
Which, by the way, congratulations.
Well, you have to say that now.
I do have to say that.
I just waxed lyrical. So it'd be funny if you were like, yeah, it was rubbish.
It was pretty bad.
They made me watch it for this taping. I hated everything.
No, but genuinely, I felt for you because I was like, we're basically the same age, London boys, and I was like, he's going toe-to-toe with Julianne Moore. But you did it. You completely held your own.
Thanks, mate.
You were so good to watch, mate.
Appreciate that. I feel like you've had this, in your career as well. I mean, notably White Lotus as well, but when you're acting with these people who are, have been like so visible in the industry or iconic in a way, and then I think very quickly people kind of become very humanized. And it's kind of the same, with you as well. It's like we work in this industry that oftentimes pits people against each other.
Yeah.
And, you and me probably end up going for all the same parts together. And I think
I auditioned for Mary and George.
Did you really?
Yeah. You
I
bastard.
auditioned for White Lotus.
Did you
got me there.
Did you actually? Yes. No way.
But this is the funny thing is it's like so nice to like engage in like the human of it all because that's the thing. It's like, someone like Julie. I can call her that now, by the way.
I was going to say.
Yeah.
Julie?
She said, I mean, she actually goes by Juju sometimes. I thought like that was a bit too familiar.
So for the rest of the interview, she's going to be Juju.
Please no. It feels wrong. It feels
You've
wrong.
done it now.
Like
It's on tape. They've got it.
No, but with her, you do think Julianne Moore icon, and then you meet her in person, and she's so grounded, and she's so light in and around the work.
Was it intimidating though? You can be honest. Just me and you here.
Yeah, it's just you and me, not 50,000 people behind the camera. No, I mean maybe at first.
Yeah.
But immediately, I mean the script was so. I mean it's so different from One Day in a lot of ways that like we're very scheming. You know, a lot of sort of expositional stuff, a lot of sort of combativeness between the two of us.
Yeah. You're not just going toe to toe as an actor. Like your characters are kind of eating away at each other, and there's so much. It's a really volatile relationship.
What if I go later? When I'm older?
You could. But if you miss this chance, you'll fail us all and live like your father, smeared in the unwashable excrement of eternal shame.
I mean, George never feels on solid footing with his mother. You know, he's like, earlier in his life, he's just desperate for her love and affection. And then, you know, the more he feels like a pawn in her game, he sort of drifts off and gathers his own autonomy. And so actually I really liked when we got to that point later on in the show. Because, you know, we're talking about, you know, these monologues and huge lines like that. George isn't really like that. He's very, it's much more of a physical performance rather than, you know, Julie would have these amazing pithy lines or long monologues. I mean, same as Tony Curran, who plays the king. And but I mean, the thing that struck me about your performance is that it's kind of both. I mean, Dexter is such a complex and is such a sort of, I mean, seeing his kind of grief unfold over years. And I think a sort of a commonality between both of our shows is like having to track something over the course of years.
He's so good at this. He's so good at this. Thanks for preparing me with Nick, guys.
I've been rehearsing
Steer
this.
the ship, mate.
I've been rehearsing this
Love
for
this.
days. But what was it like to essentially, I mean, he's so flawed, but there is a purity to him as well. But tracking that kind of grief over the years, you know, death of his mother, and then obviously, I don't know if we can sort of spoil, but, you know, later on in the show, Emma passing away.
The immediate challenge that I knew I had to overcome was making, like, he had to be kind of redeemable. On the page, it's very easy to, you know, just think he's a bit of a twat. Because he kind of is. Like, he does act like a knob half the time.
Yeah.
But some really bad things happen to him. And he's got a lot of love in his heart. And to me, it was quite easy to feel really quite sorry for him.
Just pick up the phone, Emma. If you're there, just pick up.
So yeah, when it came to, you know, playing grief and going through that kind of stuff with Dex, I just felt so bad for him. Like, he's on his knees a lot. And for someone who's so, you know, privileged, he really gets like a crap deal in a lot of ways. It's kind of like George as well. Like, you meet him and he's literally hanging from a tree. Yeah. Like, that's crazy.
They do.
Like, what? Like, how did you feel?
Yeah.
Like,
the thing that I think is really interesting about the characters is they kind of both do feel sorry for themselves, and there is a self-pity in some ways, but it's not without cause in both scenarios. I think, you know, for George, he's very feeling when we meet him. And you know, his mum really wants to send him off to France. And at the time, that's like getting sent to the moon. So, you know, he's terrified. And yes, there is some melodrama with his sort of quite staged suicide attempts. But
yeah, are they? How true are they? Do you think?
From George,
from George's perspective.
It's kind of. I think it's both. I think he feels very hopeless.
Yeah.
But you know, I'm sure you kind of got the sense when you meet Mary on screen is she's not a doting mother at all, and in a lot of ways she always treats him like a peer instead of a son. And really, I mean, where we leave George, I think it's very tragic actually, because he's been used by almost everyone in his life. You know, he's a commodity to people. People don't really look beyond his looks and his sort of powers of seduction. And so there is a desperate want to be loved. And I think that's when it gets complex, is when Sandy comes into the picture and, Mary treats her with such reverence.
Yeah.
George is like, why has my love always been conditional? And now he harbors this, huge amount of jealousy for her as well. But
yeah, because then, he finds love with James, and I was fascinated watching it because you play it so subtly.
My love for you is as firm as the ground we stand on.
it was something Tony and I always tried to track because, there are real letters that exist between the two of them where, they're very affectionate and they would imply that there was a genuine love between them. And I think,
You got to read them?
Well, yeah, we got to read. There was an amazing book, and I'd love to ask you about this from your perspective, but there was an amazing sort of historical book, The King's Assassin, that we kind of used to help flesh out the historical knowledge. We then kind of deviated, and it is historical fiction, but there were letters between the two of them that really implied there was genuine love. I think it started out as transactional. There was a genuine love that kind of bruised that you kind of start to see in 4 and 5. And then I think, there's obviously huge chunks of history we didn't have time to explore, and his whims kind of get the better of him and his appetite is voracious, and that kind of blows apart the whole steady home life with the king.
Yeah, it feels like he was sent to seduce the king, and then over time kind of got quite seduced himself by the lifestyle.
Well, it's definitely the lifestyle, and his appetite for power definitely grows. But I think in James, he also sees someone who's very tragic, and is James's mother and father were killed, his first love was killed, he's a very feeling person, and I think there is a simpatico between them. From your perspective, we laughed over messages that we think a lot of acting prep is very pretentious and twatty. You can bleep that out.
I didn't say that.
But, for something like this, which is such an epic, do you read the book? What's your kind of your few weeks, months lead up to this?
A lot of the prep happened because I was doing so many auditions. Because I was in Sicily doing Lotus, going back to London to be in the room and audition.
Auditions did you do for it?
5?
Jeez.
That was nuts. They
They don't make it easy.
They put me through the ringer.
Is that because it's Netflix, do you think? Or?
I think they just they wanted to get the right Emma and Dexter.
Yeah.
But by the end, the final audition, I was in the room with. I thought it was just going to be Molly Manners and Rachel Sheridan, the director and casting director. I walked in and it's all the execs are in this little room, and the showrunner, and so I obviously wanted to crap myself. But we were doing a lot of the rough scenes with Dexter and his mum, and then after Emma dies. And I remember Rachel Sheridan. She'd probably hate me for saying this, but we'd been we'd gone on a bit of a journey.
Yeah.
Because she would read with me throughout all these auditions, and I was breaking down in this audition room, and I said a line, and I looked up, and because she just didn't say her line. Oh. So I looked up, and Rachel, bless her, she was crying as well. She's we were just going, because it's just, it's a very sad thing. Yeah. So I just reached out and I just touched her foot, and we carried on. So after that, I was okay, I feel like I know how to play Dex now. It's just about getting the offer.
Did you feel a connection with him when you were reading it?
Yeah, I sometimes figure myself as a little bit useless, but just I know I make tons of mistakes, and so does he. So that was kind of my way in. And then we started filming, and it was a 14-page dayer. It was the first day was on the hill.
On Arthur's?
No, on Primrose Hill.
Yeah.
And
that's interesting.
That was first day, yeah.
I always love trying to spot first days.
Really?
How can you tell? Can always tell when it's my first day. Or you film a scene that's it's sequential, but then you've done it 3 months before, and then you're my performance is not bad. at all. We had a crazy shoot schedule where we were like doing 3 blocks essentially in one day. So literally 20 years apart in one day. And it was like...
Mate, that is
tricky.
brutal.
Yeah. But I would never have known that was your...
What day did you think my first day was? Go on, tell me what my worst performance scene in that
literally
film.
none. But there's something that's so... God, there's something so... Did you shoot in blocks or did you shoot it...
Yeah, we shot it in like 4 blocks.
Okay, interesting.
What about this Emma?
She's just a friend.
Really?
Yes.
So I did this film called Bottoms.
Yeah.
God, it feels like a while ago now, which is
You play a jock. It's
dumbest, like,
so
character
funny
ever.
though.
But I've never done an out-and-out comedy like that. And, you know, I usually kind of have a sort of process where I kind of know vaguely who the person is and how to kind of access emotion in different scenes if you need it. But with Jeff, he's so ridiculous that there was no way really to prep other than watching like Not Another Teen Movie and like all these like really like heightened comedies from like the 90s. And
Was it like a mental state that you had to get into where you just because I haven't done you know an out and out comedy.
Yeah,
You hear that you just don't try and be funny or something like that.
That's the thing.
What is it like?
I thought I had to bring something into it, and really it's just about like trying to like sit in the pocket and like just be open. And Emma Seligman, who directed it, one take she'd be like, okay, you're an infant and you're throwing your toys out the pram, and the next take she'd be like, you're a sociopath and you're gaslighting this person. And so, you know, we wrapped the movie and I'm like, I have no idea who this character is. I don't know what I'm going to see on screen. And then, you know, with George, it's like the opposite because you have a historical text that you can go to. I mean, it was tricky because I had about a week and a half between wrapping The Idea of You, which is this other movie I did just before, to then go on to Mary and George. So it was
Wait, so you shot Idea of You and then did Mary and George?
Exactly. Wow. And so it was, I know.
Where you play Harry Styles?
deny. But you're kind of in this space now where you've like done things like back to back. I mean, it's like you're trying to let go of your last thing. I imagine Dexter took some time to kind of shake off.
Do you know what? I started one day just after finishing Lotus. So I had to shake off the Essex accent a little bit.
You're
throw my teeth.
You're just a classic West Ham fan, like geezer.
Do you know what? As a Chelsea fan, I felt like such a basilisk because it was my idea to sing the Bubbles song. It was I asked Mike if I could do it.
Wait, you had a Hammers tattoo?
I asked for the Hammers tattoo, and I went full West Ham. And like a lot of one of my best mates is a Chelsea fan, and he was like, he like couldn't look me in the eye for a bit. But no, so I was like shaking off a Essex accent for one day, but shaking off Dexter wasn't that difficult. Like we would do these days where I'd just suffer. Like the scene where he's in the box room, Emma's things are in there. Days like that, you want to shake them off immediately. So by the time we've wrapped, I'd kind of been letting it go along the way.
Do you feel, is it easy for you to access that level of grief?
There were different points in his life that we had to film where he was going through grief or going through something really rough. Sometimes they're really difficult, sometimes they're not. Like, I don't know about you, but whenever I read a script and I'm like, reading it, and then it says, character breaks down crying. I'm like, for fuck's sake.
No. Well, yeah. Sorry. That's definitely making it in there. No, I mean, but it's also...
Sometimes it's really annoying.
But it takes you out of it, because then you're like,
yeah.
Oh, now I cry.
Yeah.
And it's robotic, and that's not human.
Yeah. I think if you're reading it and you've already started to feel it, then you know something might click. And that particular scene was one of the hardest for different reasons. Like, it was just horrible being in that place, doing it again and again and again. And I remember we finally wrapped, well, at least my coverage, and I was like, thank God, I let it all go. And we came back after lunch, we were like, oh, so we actually are going to pan up to you at the end. I was like, no. Oh, God.
That is the most
it's hard to,
frustrating.
Yeah, it's hard to, like, I mean, you had moments like that on Mary and George as well.
Yeah, I mean, George.
Do you get nervous for them? Do you feel like, I don't know, do you have a system? Do you like play music or something?
Yeah, it's funny because I find that like the more I try and sit in a dark energy all day, the more it drains me. So then when it actually comes time to like do the scene, I don't know if I have as much of it. So I think it's a balance. My thing now is also when I see something of like he cries, scribble it out. I mean, I did a movie a few years ago which wasn't fantastic, but I actually feel like I learned a lot in it where my character had to really like break down crying.
Yeah.
And the first few takes just felt really like, I felt like there was something there, but it was feeling forced.
Yeah.
And the director came up to me and she was like, you don't have to. Like just this next take, just do nothing. And that was when it just poured out of me. And now I think my approach
Take
to
the
it.
pressure off.
Yeah. Well, it's like, I had like a period over the strike where I got to hang out with some cool filmmakers, and I went to Gus Van Sant's house and hung out with Gus.
Oh, mate.
He's one of my favorites, and we were talking, and I was talking about My Own Private Idaho, and there's one scene where he's round the fireplace with Keanu, and he's really kind of bearing his soul, and I mean that scene always stuck with me. And he said, River hated his work in that scene. Like he felt like he didn't have his like River moment in that. And I think so often as actors, like we feel like that's how we're judged on our acting work, is like, can you hit the great emotional beats?
Yeah. My mates who aren't actors, when I first got into it, they were like, can you cry on
Can you cry? It's like, it doesn't really work like that. Exactly. And I think, look, the thing that I appreciate probably helped you is you had an amazing co-star in Ambika who, like, you guys, I mean, the chemistry immediately, and it's unconventional because you do feel like genuine. I mean, there's obviously always something more between you, but like, you genuinely feel like friends throughout the whole thing. I mean, it hits you like a freight train, like, because it's at the start of the episode that you find out she's passed away, and you're kind of like, we left you in such a beautiful place.
Yeah. I mean, I was so lucky. I think we knew we were taking on like a kind of mammoth gig. So we did want to lean on each other a lot. And actually, bringing that up, the scene I was just talking about in the box room, I hadn't seen her for like a week. Really? And at that point, like that was crazy to not see her for a week.
Yeah.
We was, spending all our time together. I just sort of sat in the room. We would film it because part of the scene is him on his own, and then she's there, she's not there. It would just be me and Andrew Bainbridge, the camera op. Be very quiet, and then I'd just hear Molly say like, okay, Ambika, go. And she'd just like quietly walk in and just like sit next to me. And that was rough. As Dexter, that hurt. So yeah, I think it made a big difference, us having a good relationship.
That's very much like kind of a fleeting memory. You know, the way that you guys actually set that up to perform that, her sort of drifting in and out.
Yeah.
Which is,
Yeah.
I mean, that's the sort of gift of having a really smart director as well.
I think so. Nick, how does it feel to be an internet boyfriend?
Am I an internet boyfriend?
I'd say that you're quite solidly an internet boyfriend.
Do you type that into Google to just see who's like
Yeah,
on the list?
yeah.
I mean, you are an internet boyfriend.
No, I've been typing it, waiting for me to come up.
You've been trying to make the algorithm realise that you are an internet boyfriend.
I mean, it's a silly question,
Yeah.
but like genuinely, red, white, and royal blue. That was like a big launching pad.
I just can't afford for you to fall in love with me.
Okay, wait a minute.
No, that's not what I meant when I said...
yourself, Your Majesty.
It's your Royal Highness. I don't know how many times I have to tell you that.
You garnered so much attention, which you continue to get, and you obviously deserve it. But like, are you all right? Like, are you okay?
I'm doing okay.
Yeah?
I think I'm
holding
doing
up?
okay. No, look, it's funny because we can always kind of relate this back to Dexter and his sort of ascent in fame and everything. But like, I think it happened in a really interesting way. We had the strike at that point, so I didn't get to promote the movie. I'd already kind of experienced a little bit of this sort of Netflix hysteria with this movie I did before, Purple Hearts. But the fans are such a fan of the book as well, and so like I already kind of knew what that was going to be, and just hoping that it matched their expectations.
Yeah.
Great to see you. You too, Your Majesty. Actually, it's Your Royal Highness. Your Majesty is reserved for the King. Oh, thank you for the etiquette lesson. You are desperately in need of one. You know what?
I mean, I could ask you the same thing, you know, with One Day. I mean, you have huge fans of the book, you have huge fans of the other film, and then the Netflix effect of really launching you. Because, I mean, I'd say that, you know, because of White Lotus especially, you were definitely revered in our industry and publicly, but that, I mean, it's a whole nother level when... Come on.
No, I mean, everybody watched White Lotus.
Yeah.
From every age, demographic, everyone kind of watches it. So like, you know, I got a gentle sort of push into the industry, but then I've been kind of bowled over by how many people watch One Day.
But I think what's so special about it is it's something that's both critically acclaimed and fans just, you know, I mean, it like wrecked fans. And I think it's like propped you up in a really amazing way where, you know, you're playing this leading man, but also someone who's very, very sensitive as well. And I imagine with like your work going forward, it's really opened a lot of the doors for you.
Yeah. I mean, but, you know, it's just kind of, and I know you're the same, just, why are you smiling?
Make me laugh. We're just human, the same. I mean, really, like we did, he's Shepherd's Bush and I'm Hammersmith, which is crazy.
Do you know what?
So close to where we
Do you know what? I bet everyone thinks that I'm from Hammersmith as well. Because Google keeps saying I'm from Hammersmith.
Yeah.
You are actually from
I
Hammersmith.
actually am, yeah.
Because I thought that was hilarious, that I was like, I bet he's pissed that it says he's from Hammersmith. But you actually are. I went through Hammersmith every day for 5 years going to school. Hammersmith
Wait,
Broadway.
where did you go to school?
I went to Sheen School.
Oh, okay.
So I passed through.
I went the other way.
You went the other way.
But it's so funny, I'm Dulwich College, because I was a rugby boy.
Oh, you're a rugby boy.
Yeah, sorry.
On sport.
Who's that laughing?
This, yeah. Someone think that's really funny that you're a rugby boy. So this is completely unrelated to acting, but who cares? I read that you were
What?
a javelin runner-up.
Don't tell me you threw javelin as well.
What year were you runner-up?
Oh, God.
Because I was number one year.
Do you really?
I think.
Oh, no, but you're a couple years
I think I might have just told everyone that when actually I was like
So
third or fourth.
I, for my age group, I must have been about, I think I was about 15 or 16. But I always point this out. The guy who was number one was like a lot better than me.
Really?
Yeah, so it wasn't like, oh, we were fighting for first.
Were you throwing real javelins?
Yeah.
Oh no, I was just throwing the foam one.
You were not? Were you really?
Yeah. I was like,
childish. It's so funny.
bro, it was amazing though, because everyone else threw it, and they just go, and they'd like, or they'd fly behind
It
them.
would soar.
I just got lucky, and it just
kind of like your career in a way, just flying up.
That was good.
And you know,
Nice.
that's why they hired.
Although
me,
you blocked my camera.
I'm so sorry. So sorry, Saka. I feel kind of like
Guy,
Jim
man.
from The Office,
Guy.
looking straight into the yeah, I did. I was wondering, were you a footballer or a rugby or?
I was a footballer.
Okay. I did football as well, but
No, I was. We were like the worst team in London.
oh, you were okay.
Yeah.
But it is. You're trying.
I know
We're
you
just
don't want.
bonding
I know
here.
you don't want us to talk about football or sport.
You're just trying to stop us, aren't you? Because you've got other serious actors coming in here to talk about that. Okay, I will ask that. So I heard from my extensive research on the internet
That you just found out.
That I just found out right now. That your whole family are actors.
Yeah. No, it's not my whole family. My dad's an actor, my stepdad, and it goes. So my dad, my stepdad, my grandma was an actor,
Wow.
and it goes way, way back to a woman called Maxine Elliott.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was it like a given that you were going to go off and
No, it was the
act?
opposite. It was the last thing I
Really?
wanted to do. Last thing I wanted to do.
Because it was like in the family?
I think so. I don't know. It's just you heard the phrase "catching the bug."
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't catch the bug until I was like 19.
It's the same thing for me.
Was that the same for you?
Well, I mean,
Are you the only actor in your family?
Yeah. My parents, I mean, it could not be more opposite from it, and it was not in the family at all. But I was like an
They must
athlete.
be very proud.
They are,
But also a little bit weirded out.
yeah, it definitely weirded out.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, they came to the premiere of Mary and George recently, and it was pretty.
How?
It was an uncomfortable.
What was that like?
I mean, the best thing in the world is My sister next to me in absolute hysterics, like burying her head in her hands. My mum, she was just like completely still and had like her eyes just closed, but was like looking in the direction of the screen. So like not to give away that she wasn't watching.
Yeah.
And then my dad, almost in this sort of like hyper masculine way, was like, I'm gonna watch this. Like men watch their sons do sex scenes on screen. It was like, Dad, you really don't have to watch this. I get that you're proud, but bless him.
There's quite a lot of it in Mary and George.
Yeah, there's quite a lot, and there's a fair bit of it in One Day as well.
Fair bit of it in One Day.
Did you work with an intimacy?
We did, yeah.
Yeah. So,
Did you?
Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Because that's a lot to
I did
do.
4 sex scenes in one day one time.
4 in one day?
With people who that was their only scene. So I would sort of welcome them on set and, okay, we're in this position here, and yeah. Wow. You had less of...
No, yeah, I had less of that. I only had the one scene in White Lotus that everyone could be uncomfortable. I watched it with my brother. I know they want to cut us off, but
we're not
gonna let
this is good shit.
You can stop the cameras if you want, but we're just chatting.
Credits.
I watched it with my brother, and I didn't tell anyone that scene with Tom was going to happen, and I watched it with my brother, and he had no idea, and he was just like on the sofa, and I actually recorded him, and he was just like, oh.
Because it comes out of nowhere.
It does come out of nowhere.
Because I read for it and you got the part instead of me. But I watched it with other people and I was like, oh, I know what's coming now.
Oh, no way.
It's so good.
Yeah, it did shock. I didn't tell a soul that happened.
I love that. Well, I guess we've got to transition out of mate mode.
Let's go to the pub. They don't have pubs here.
Yeah, they don't have pubs.
Get a pub, guys.
We'll go back to England. We're going to go back to Hammersmith, where you're not from.
Yeah, we're going to throw some javelins.
We're going to do some foam javelins and drink some beers. Well, Variety.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, this was very nice. Leo, you're a very talented young man.
You are very
I'd heard terrible things about you till this day, and I'm glad to hear that it's all true.
True.
Yeah.
Good luck with the rest of the season.
Good.